A moment ago, in those first few seconds after you clicked on this video, something inside you was permanently deleted. Something worth more than anything in your bank account. Let's run a test. I'm going to ask you 3 questions. You get 3 seconds each. Answer them in your head and be honest. What city were you in 3 years ago today? The day of your first kiss, what did the air smell like? The wish you made on your 18th birthday, word for word, the exact sentence. What was it? Nothing, right? You know that feeling. Back in school, you'd spend an entire evening cramming a passage for class. You'd read it over and over, mouthing every word, absolutely convinced it was burned into your brain forever. Then the teacher calls on you the next morning, and your mind just serves you a 404 error. File not found. That panic. You definitely remember that, right? Actually, you probably don't remember that either. Okay, let's say you did manage to pull up something just now, some faint image from the past. Here's what I really want to ask you. Did you notice the camera angle? Try it, right now. Picture yourself running across a playground as a kid. Picture the first time you stood up in front of a class to give a presentation. Picture the moment you said goodbye to someone you loved. I'm willing to bet that in every one of those scenes, what you see is your own back. You're watching yourself from the outside, like a drone hovering in midair, pointed at a younger version of you. But that makes no sense. You were there. You were looking through your own eyes. What you should be seeing is the other kids on the playground, the sea of faces in the audience, the other person walking away, not yourself. You can't see your own face. You've never been able to see your own face. So, who filmed that shot? Your brain made it up. In 1983, psychologists Georgia Nigro and Richard Neiser ran a landmark study. They asked people to recall memories from different periods of their lives and then hit them with one brilliantly simple question. In this memory, are you seeing it through your own eyes, or are you watching yourself from the outside, like a bystander? The results were chilling. The older the memory, the more likely you are to see it in third person. Recent stuff? You can replay it from your own perspective. But once a memory is more than a few years old, your brain stops playing the original footage. It starts screening a re-edited documentary, and you've been cast as the main character. You think you're remembering. You're not. You're watching. You think that image was dredged up from deep inside you. It wasn't. It's a piece of fabricated evidence your brain handed you. In 2004, psychologist Peggy St. Jacques pushed this further. She found that when people recall memories loaded with intense emotion, deep shame, extreme fear, the probability of a third-person perspective skyrockets. Why? Because it's your brain protecting you. When a memory is too painful, your brain quietly pulls you out of the driver's seat and puts you in the audience. It's creating distance between you and the pain. It's whispering, "Don't get too close." That's just a story. The person in it isn't you anymore. So think about the most vivid scenes from your life. Your first heartbreak, bombing a test, humiliating yourself in public. Aren't you watching almost all of them from the outside? Like it's a movie about someone else? That's because, deep down, your brain already knows. The person you used to be really is someone else. This isn't bad memory. This is the deepest, most unsettling truth about being human that almost nobody talks about. By the time you're 40, you will have forgotten over 80% of everything you've ever personally experienced. And the scenes you think you still remember, most of them have had their perspective tampered with. You're not the protagonist anymore. You're just a spectator in the story of your own life. You think you've lived one complete life? No. 80% of it. The tears you cried, the moments you swore you'd never forget, the nights that felt like they'd kill you. All of it has fallen into a black hole. Forever. And what little survived? Your brain recut it into a third-person film. In the 15 minutes it takes to watch this video, your brain will silently delete about 40% of today's experiences. What you saw first thing this morning, what your hands are touching right now, even the sentence I just said. So here's the question that should keep you up tonight. If you've already lost 80% of your life and you're still losing more every second, then the person sitting in front of the screen right now, the one who calls themselves you, what even are they? Today, I'm not going to bore you with a neuroscience lecture. I'm going to show you something a little terrifying, but absolutely real. The you that you think exists doesn't. Act 1. The man trapped in 7 seconds. To understand how devastating forgetting can be, we need to look at an extreme case. His name was Clive Wearing, a world-class musician, one of the finest in Britain. In 1985, a rare strain of herpes virus destroyed his hippocampus. That's the part of the brain that writes new memories to long-term storage. Think of it as a hard drive. After that, Clive's memory lasted 7 to 30 seconds. What does that world look like? If you walk out of his room and come back 30 seconds later, he greets you like he hasn't seen another human being in decades. He hugs you, he weeps. If you leave again and come back, same reaction. Every single time. He kept a diary. Every page said the exact same thing. 8:31 a.m. I am now completely awake. 9:06 a.m. I am now completely awake. 9:34 a.m. I am now completely awake. After writing each entry, he'd cross out the previous one because he didn't recognize it. He had no idea who wrote it. For Clive, life was an endless loop of just waking up inside a 7-second tunnel of darkness. No past, no future, just this, over and over and over. Neuroscientists watched him and felt something close to dread. If he has no past, is he still Clive? Every memory they've ever had, have you stripped them of their soul? But Clive left behind one miracle. When his wife Deborah walked into the room, even if he'd seen her 5 seconds ago, he would erupt with love. Pure, overwhelming love. He couldn't remember her name, their wedding, a single detail of their life together, but he still loved her. That tells us something profound. Memory isn't all of the soul. But in a world without memory, time stops. Act 2. Your memories are a wiki page anyone can edit. You're probably thinking, okay, Clive is a tragic, extremely rare case. I'm a normal person. My memory works fine. It's continuous. Are you sure about that? You and Clive are on the same spectrum. You just forget a little slower. You think your brain is a camera, faithfully recording everything. But Elizabeth Loftus, one of the most important psychologists of the 20th century, proved decades ago that this is completely wrong. Your memory isn't a recording. It's a Wikipedia page that anyone can edit at any time. And the person who edits it the most is you. Loftus ran a now famous experiment called Lost in the Mall. She gathered a group of people and presented them with real stories from their childhoods, but she slipped in one that was completely made up. You got lost in a shopping mall when you were little. You were crying. An elderly woman found you and brought you back to your parents. What happened? A full quarter of the participants didn't just accept the story, they remembered it vividly. They started adding their own details. Yes, the old woman was wearing a red sweater. I remember crying. There was an ice cream shop right next to us. They were feeling intense, genuine emotion about something that never happened. Here's an even more disturbing one. The day after the Challenger space shuttle exploded in 1986, a psychologist asked 106 college students to write down exactly where they were, who they were with, and how they heard the news. 3 years later, the same students were tracked down and asked the same questions. only 7% of them got it right. And here's the truly horrifying part. When the psychologist showed them their own handwritten responses from 3 years earlier, proof in their own handwriting, many of them said, "Yeah, that's my handwriting, but I obviously wrote it down wrong. What I remember now is what actually happened." Does that send a chill down your spine? All those precious memories you think make you you, the turning points, the grudges, the loves of your life. How many of them have been filtered, re-edited, or outright invented by your own brain? If 80% of reality has been erased, and half of the remaining 20% is fiction, then what exactly is holding you together? Act 3. The Ship of Theseus and the Stranger Who Died. This brings us to one of the oldest thought experiments in philosophy, the Ship of Theseus. There's a wooden ship called the Theseus sailing the sea. Over time, its planks rot, and the crew replaces them one by one. Eventually, every single plank has been swapped out. Not a single original nail remains. Is it still the same ship? And if you took all the old planks and built a second ship out of them, which one is the real Theseus? Now replace the ship with yourself. Biologically, most of the cells in your body are in constant turnover. Every 7 years or so, nearly every cell has been replaced. The body you had at 15, physically, it no longer exists. Psychologically, as we just discussed, your thoughts, your pain thresholds, your worldview at 15, plus 80% of your memories from that time have been obliterated. So here is the brutal truth I want to put to you today. You and the person you were 5 years ago are not the same person. That person who cried alone at 2 a.m., the one who swore they'd get into that university, the one who was so desperately in love they thought they'd die without them. That person is dead. You, right now, are just a stranger who happens to share the same social security number and a vaguely similar face. The only reason you think you're still them is because your subconscious inherited their tattered, dog-eared, heavily redacted diary. Every morning, you wake up, skim through that broken diary, and perform a few seconds of self-hypnosis. Right, my name is so-and-so. That's my partner. That's my job. I was pissed at my boss yesterday. Every single day, you are performing the A lot of people are afraid of forgetting. They think forgetting means losing. So what if you could never forget? What if you remembered everything? There's an extraordinarily rare condition called hyperthymesia, total autobiographical memory. An American woman named Jill Price can recall every single detail of every single day since she was 14. Every news headline, every conversation, every feeling. Is she happy? No. She describes it as a non-stop, torturous assault on her mind. When a normal person goes through a breakup, they cry for a few months, and then time gently sands down the edges of the memory. The sting fades. But for Jill, an embarrassing moment from a decade ago, a wound from 20 years back, every one of them replays in her mind in full 4K surround sound, total emotional immersion. Every single day. Her memory has no trash can. She is being crushed alive by her own past. So listen, forgetting was never a bug. Forgetting is the most sophisticated defense mechanism your brain has ever built. It's a feature. Why do you need to forget 80% of your life? Because if you remembered every betrayal, every humiliation, every moment of pain, you would not have survived to today. Why does your brain erase the person you were at 15? because if it didn't clear out their stubbornness, their narrow-mindedness, their immaturity, there would be no room for the person you are now to exist. Finale. All you have is right now. We spend so much of our lives trapped, either regretting the past or dreading the future. But the ship of Theseus gives us something extraordinary. It gives us the ultimate freedom. If the person you were 5 years ago is a stranger, if the person you'll be 5 years from now is another stranger, if you've lost 80% of your past, and even the 20% that remains isn't entirely real, then what actually belongs to you? Only now. Only this exact, fleeting, already dissolving moment, the one where you're hearing my voice. Every time you feel like your life is over, every time you think you're defined by your past, trapped by your mistakes, ruined by what happened to you, remember this video. Physics and neuroscience are both telling you the same thing. Your past is dead ash. It cannot hold you. You don't just get to start over. In a very real sense, you already do. Every single day. You don't have to carry the weight of who you used to be. You can close that broken diary at any time and start a blank page. You always have the right to betray your former self and become someone entirely new, because 80% of you has already vanished into time, and the faint glow that remains exists only to light up the one step right in front of you. By the time this video ended, you forgot a few more seconds of today. Let yourself feel that.